Canada is on the cusp of a revolutionary innovation, digital ID. All of us are living in a digital world, but we're tethered to an analog model of how we identify ourselves, memorizing countless online passwords, carrying government-issued licenses, plastic cards, and more. Digital ID is a way for Canadians to identify themselves to government, businesses, and each other electronically, with ease and rock-solid security, without the need to present physical documents. One interconnected network. A federated digital ID ecosystem developed in collaboration with Canada's best and brightest talent from our banks, telecommunication companies, law enforcement, and government. It would have the power and security to store every Canadian's electronic identity and attributes, and it would unlock countless opportunities for Canadians to verify who they are safely, quickly, and securely, while only revealing the information necessary for each transaction. A fast, easy, and secure way to bank, sign up for government services, renew driver's licenses or health cards, shop, travel, and more. The World Economic Forum agrees that banks and financial institutions should lead the path forward for digital ID. Banks are highly regulated and trusted. They have advanced cybersecurity and privacy technology.
Hey, it's just a dictatorship that we want, and it's worth it because you won't have to remember your password, said the Canadian banker, because you know what could go wrong with a cashless track, trace, and database social credit score society that's going to be so convenient, especially in Canada, where, you know, single mothers have their bank accounts seized for donating $50 to the wrong political cause. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org. I know, a lot longer of an introduction than I wanted it to be, but that's because we got a lot to talk about, especially with the current financial situation that is getting really bad, will get a lot worse, to the point where even Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are finally warning the United States that troubling times are ahead. We've been telling you this for a very long time. And that's why today we're going to talk about some of the financial news surrounding the latest foreign policy geopolitical updates. A lot of this plays into the total economic subjugation of humanity, which of course plays into the national ID online digital social credit score that of course are going to be implemented with the online domestic health passports, which the World Health Organization has just announced and selected Deutsche Telekom to standardize the issuing of QR codes for domestic health passports all around the world. And we have to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this when even Iceland has just scrapped all of its health restrictions? New York City is looking to do the same very soon, to the point where even Kyrie Irving could still play for the Brooklyn Nets, as of course the numbers don't lie and show a huge drop in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths that have been going dramatically down, as we were telling you was going to happen. So why do we still need domestic QR code health passports everywhere? Why is Canada still holding strong, punishing its civilians who are demanding life go back to normal like it is in so many other places around the world? Well, I think when you finally start asking those questions, you'll get answers that'll explain to you what was really happening within the last 2 years, which clearly there is still a lot of discontent about, as Canada is going overboard, punishing individuals who even just financially supported the basic ideas and principles of freedom. This as just precise Google Map locations of people in Ontario, Canada, who donated to the Freedom Convoy was just posted online after, of course, the hack of Give, Send, Go. This is obviously a complete breach of privacy and a blatant attack on people's political beliefs and the right to petition the government peacefully. This, as of course, we're also hearing that an American trucker convoy is on its way to Washington, D.C., which plans to get there in a little bit under a week on March 1st during Joe Biden's State of the Union address. This to specifically protest the remaining mandates, lockdowns, and restrictions put in place by the Biden administration and to push back against many of its policies. So far, the American trucker protests have been calm, have been peaceful, and it's going to be interesting to see how these protests play out in Washington, D.C., as of course, we also just found out that the Pentagon just approved a National Guard deployment in Washington, D.C. in order to address this trucker convoy. Will the government have as of a heavy hand as Canada did to its trucker protests? Well, we're definitely going to find out, as already this protest is getting significant media attention and is bound to get a lot more in the upcoming days. And whether we're talking about socially, politically, or economically, I do believe 2022 is going to be an absolutely crazy year. It's only going to get crazier. And that's why we created LukeUncensored.com, our very own platform where we get to say and do what we want and provide 3 master classes on survival, online journalism, expatting, travel hacking, whatever you may be interested in. We now have 3 master classes, new videos almost every single day on topics that are too hot to talk about here on this platform, and do provide you an insight into the madness and craziness ahead, which of course I cannot get into in this specific video. In the video later on today on LukeUncensored.com, I will be talking about the latest statements from Bill Gates and gut biome. Yep, it's going to be a very interesting conversation. If you want to watch that, definitely click the link down in the description below, and the video should be out right now. Also, having our own platform helps a lot, especially with the attacks that have been happening on independent media, all in the name in order to push authoritative voices like the corporate mainstream media that has absolutely lost the trust of most people in this world, as perfectly exemplified by the latest piece by the Globe and Mail in Canada that espouses freedom is ugly. Yes, when you serve the needs of the special interests, the very powerful individuals, the bankers, the corporations, you of course are going to be shilling for them and saying that freedom is bad because freedom is the only thing standing in the way from them totally dominating all aspects of our existence and life. Like they already don't have enough control, they still push for more. The people who do the pushing for them are, of course, the corporate media that have been lying to the people of this world for a very long time. And that's why when it comes to news, especially with the latest foreign policy, geopolitical news unfolding right now in Ukraine, it's more important than ever to be skeptical, especially with asinine pieces like this from the Washington Post that read, quote, "In the long run, wars make us safer and richer," which is an absolutely insane notion, just like CBS News, that's now blaming the large economic turmoil that has been almostly deliberately pushed on by the Biden administration and all the other previous presidents who were spending money like lunatics to feed the coffers of the corporate banking class. The $30 trillion of debt, the inflation that we have caused, is all because of the Ukraine crisis. Yes, CBS News is getting massively laughed at, trying to blame inflation and other economic issues on the Ukraine crisis, trying to scapegoat the 40-year high inflation numbers. And this is the news that, of course, independent journalists get censored in exchange of this being promoted to everyone in the algorithm. And there's been a lot of news. Who do you believe with such nonsense out there? Well, this is, of course, why we've been telling you to do your own homework, do your own research, to never believe anonymous sources, to look at the documents, photos, videos, evidence yourself, and come to your own conclusions about what's really happening in this world, because there is an invested interest by powerful people to keep you misinformed about what's actually happening. And a lot of people don't know what's going on, as even the Washington Post highlighted. The less Americans know about Ukraine's location, the more they want U.S. to intervene, as of course we're in an extremely complex geopolitical situation that is unfolding right now in Europe that is bound to escalate from here. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, understands the power of media. That's why he just gave a 2+ hour long press conference addressing the latest escalations and moves made by Russia, specifically going into historical context. Putin even talked about how there's links between Democrats and communists, how wokeness is destroying the West, and even alluding how he's the one standing up against communism. Historically, Putin even went into details, alleging that it was Russia that created Ukraine. Obviously, this is history that's over 1,000 years long. There's been a lot of debate around this that has been very heated, and of course, whatever side you're on, you're more likely to believe this version of history rather than than another version of it. And historically, I have compared Ukraine to the Afghanistan of Europe, especially when it comes to the turbulence and major life loss that has happened on that territory, which sadly looks like it's about to repeat some elements of its history. Now, you compare Putin's address to his people, to his media manipulation, comparatively to the media manipulation of the Biden administration, and you, of course, see a major discrepancy, especially with a short speech, some would say rambling speech by the President of the United States, who even admitted on record that U.S. gas prices will be rising because of the foreign policy moves made by the United States, specifically with the latest sanctions being launched against Russia. He says that this is the price of defending freedom. And let's be honest here with ourselves. Ukraine, especially in its current political state, doesn't really represent the ideas of freedom. It's not a republic. It's not a democracy. A lot of political leaders and journalists that were opposition to the current ruling party have been taken out. And just like Putin's statements, Biden's statements deserve to, of course, be criticized. But his larger point, which I think is sticking out to a lot of people, is the fact that the American people will have to incur some costs because of this geopolitical move, which basically was explained by Biden as Russia gets territory, we get higher gas prices. Even the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, is warning about the price of energy going up, as it already has been going up and will, of course, continue to go up from here, just like the price of almost everything, especially with Germany now canceling the Russian pipeline that was supposed to go to them directly. Germany now importing more energy, less energy to go around, and with the price of shipping increasing, you could expect the price of everything else to go up, as it already has been very drastically within the last few years. You add that to policies of this Biden administration that have been impeding and stopping domestic energy production, and holy cow, you have a very serious situation on your hand, which some people are calling Bidenflation. Now, Biden is, of course, responsible for this, but so is Trump with his reckless spending. So is Barack Obama. So is George W. Bush. And so are all the other presidents that, of course, spent money that they never had and then just decided to print it all, with, of course, the majority of the money going to crooked individuals within Washington, D.C. that, of course, have been bought off by special interests, which many people even allude is the current situation unfolding now with Pete Buttigieg, that took gifts and accepted $250,000 from individuals that he later donated $33 million in city contracts to. This is the man also trying to be in charge, giving out the $210 billion in the infrastructure plan, and with such corrupted, nasty, disgusting bureaucrats in office, what do you think was going to happen to the U.S. economy? As of course, used cars have gone up 40%, gasoline, energy 40%, that's going to get a lot higher soon. Home prices rose 18.8% in 2021, the biggest increase in 34 years, with some places like Miami, Florida, even reporting a 50% jump in real estate prices. And again, it's only going to be getting worse because of sanctions against Russia? No. That is a bad talking point by CBS News trying to cover up exactly what's been happening here. And the multinational corporations, the big banksters, the World Economic Forum, the people who truly do call the shots are the reason why prices have been going up so dramatically and will continue to go up from here. And yes, the Ukraine situation complicates things, makes them worse, but they have already been extremely bad before. President Biden's statements deserve to be criticized, especially with his latest withdrawal from Afghanistan. His foreign policy has not been constructive towards sustaining the hegemony of the United States, and his statements, especially around the latest news, definitely deserve to be scrutinized, since, of course, even Joe Biden himself a few months ago was pressuring Ukraine to secede the Donbass territory, which now the Russian military has sent soldiers into and has recognized their independence. They most likely will be joining Russia very soon. The former president of the United States has called Putin's moves here, quote, genius, and praised them as being savvy, and has even said that the United States should send, quote, the strongest peacekeeping force in the world to the southern border in the United States. Now, this situation definitely does not look good for the President of the United States. There's a lot of things to criticize him on, and with the way that things have been going, it's only expected to get worse from here, even geopolitically. I think Russia sees an opportunity here that they're slowly going to be taking more advantage of. This larger proxy war that's happening in Ukraine between the United States and Russia will definitely escalate. Not just, of course, in the territory of Ukraine, but also in the online digital world, as of course there's major fears of hacking attacks and infrastructure attacks that a lot of people are saying will most likely happen. There's also a lot of U.S. helicopters crashing in the news lately. Is that correlated? I don't know. I haven't seen any kind of evidence suggesting it is, but there might be some kind of interesting connection to look at. In my opinion, this conflict is going to be prolonged, as of course there most likely will be another political process of the Donbass region becoming officially Russia. I would keep a close eye on that very tumultuous region that of course could spark off at any moment, but I think right now the cyber warfare is really the place to look at, the place that this hunky-dory Canadian banker just wants all of your life on. Yes, another reason why this track, trace, and database, domestic passport, identification, online system, social credit score is absolutely asinine. That is the fact that almost everything is vulnerable, especially when it's in a database that, of course, have been shown to be absolutely insecure. But they still want you for your convenience. You don't have to remember your passports. You don't have to have any documents. Just trust us. Put everything online. Do as you say. Don't think critically. That's what they want you to believe. And I believe that's absolutely the dumbest idea that you could possibly have. If you agree with me, share this video with your friends, family members, random person, the store clerk checking out your groceries. Be like, hey, you, ma'am, mister, have you checked out youtube.com/wearechange to broaden your paradigm about the true reality of the existence that we are sharing today on this plainful, extraordinary ecosystem that we're all coexisting in right now? Oh, no? Okay, then you should check out this video. And because you do that, I'm still here. To understand more context about what I was saying here, I did a specific video about this days ago, which you could watch. I'm still not getting this right. You could watch right here. I love you guys. One more video coming your way on LukeUncensored.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more on wearechange.org.